Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday, August 3rd, 2nd, 2nd. Uh, it's Thursday, August 2nd. I'm here with Darwin Green, the chair of Onyx Gold, and Brock Colterjohn, who is the new CEO of Onyx Gold. Those of you that may not be aware, Onyx is a spin out from high gold mining. Essentially, all of the non-Alaskan assets in high gold were spun into Onyx. Onyx did a financing and started trading uh, about a month ago. Yesterday, Onyx announced that drilling has started on their King Tut project in the Yukon. King Tut's a very nice looking pair of targets, and there's probably will be more targets on the project before it's all said and done. But they do seem to bear a lot of relationship to the reduced intrusion gold model that's being drilled extremely successfully by Snowline Gold. Snowline put out another insane drill hole this morning, uh, and this is another shot at something like that in the region. Onyx trades on the venture. The symbol is Onyx, ONYX. There is a U.S. symbol on the way. So I'm going to kick this off and just ask Brock if he can sort of briefly introduce himself, and then we'll go into the program that's kicked off and is underway now.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Eric. So, hi everyone. My name is Brock Colterjohn. I'm president and CEO of Onyx Gold. I'm a geologist originally, and then spent the last 6 years in the capital market side as first off as a mining sales specialist at Canaccord Genuity, and then a research analyst covering precious metals exploration and developers at Cormark Securities. Yeah, really excited and thank you, Eric, for organizing this.
Okay, so you want to can either Darwin or Brock or both of you, I guess. Uh, can you give us an overview of the maybe just an overview of the assets? I mean, obviously, what I'm interested in currently is the stuff in the Yukon where you just started drilling, but you've got a pretty substantial project package in Ontario as well. I mean, do you want to just give us a sort of the elevator pitch version of the overview on these two?
Yeah, no, 100%. So, as you mentioned, Eric, that we are a spin out of High Gold. So basically, High Gold, uh, all Canadian properties. Oops, sorry, I don't know why it's moving. We're spun out into Onyx Gold. So we have a over 200 kilometer square package in Yukon, as well as an over 300 square kilometer land package in the heart of Timmins. Canada's world class mining district there. The exciting thing about Yukon is our predecessor companies have had these projects in Eastern Tombstone Gold Belt. I'll show you on a map in a second since 2010, 2011. And the company's done some excellent work, brought that up to basically a drill ready status. And now after obviously in 2012 was a pretty difficult market since until very recently to raise capital for early stage exploration. And obviously Snowline's made an incredible discovery. So, it's too good to ignore. So we were able to finance $8.36 million to fully fund Yukon exploration this year, as well as Ontario. So really excited about this opportunity.
Okay. So why don't we start with the Yukon since that's
Yeah,
I mean that's obviously
totally.
the short-term driver here.
Yeah,
Uh,
maybe just real quick touching on the capital structure. So we post financing, so we raised $8.36 million. We have 41 million shares outstanding now. Our shareholder registry is quite good for the size of our company. So we have a senior gold producer at 5%. Institutions are at 22%, led by Franklin Templeton, who's 9.9. High Gold is 12%, and then high net worth individuals and management owned about 26%. So really good shareholders registry, and I think we're in a fantastic place, for 25 million market cap, with amount of cash, and we're fully funded for material exploration programs in Yukon and in Ontario. Which, speaking of Yukon, so this is where we are. We're in the Eastern Tombstone Belt, in the same immediate district as Snowline Gold. What's special about this area is it has a long history of these big reduced intrusion related gold systems, with Fort Knox and obviously recently with Dublin Gulch and the Eagle Mine with Victoria. Really put these deposit types on the map, and which and then also Snowline making a material discovery that is magnitudes the normal grade as what we previously historically seen is kind of reinvigorated the interest for these large scale deposits that can be more than 1 gram now, which Snowline has clearly proven at its valley discovery. So zooming in, I should say this is just a quick timeline of showing where the evolution of our Yukon properties. So Constantine Metals, what our predecessor company, originally staked this in 2010 and 2011. A big portfolio, about 5,000 claims on the back of ATEX, just a Carlin style discovery. And the idea back then was, the company at that time could have a material, slice of what could be the next Carlin, world-class mining district. So they went out, claimed, staked 5,000 claims, and they did a very extensive soil sampling program. Over 13,000 samples were done, which led to several discoveries of anomalous gold over intrusion-related gold systems. So it wasn't the Carlin, but they did discover some very nice looking intrusion-related gold systems. And then it was up until Darwin in last year consolidated the land claims, and now we own them 100% basis. Yeah. So just now zooming into where we are. So Snowline is to the north of us and as well as the south of us. They actually also own a corporate claim block right in the middle of our main project, King Tut. And so the closest is 10 kilometers away is how close we are to Snowline, and the Valley Discovery is less than 50 kilometers located to the north of King Tut. What's a great thing is where our camp is right here. It's located right on the North Canal Road, which is a seasonal gravel road, so we can truck goods and supplies, including our drill rig, to our camp. And then we also use the McMillan Pass airstrip for cruise ship change. So, it's a very nice area where we can leverage some of the existing infrastructure to reduce our overall costs. And it's about a 40-kilometer helicopter to our main targets. This Plata Road is an old winter road from the 70s that was basically developed to bring in machines for the historic Plata silver mine. And this is probably the logical route that Snowline or whoever potentially acquires Valley and for this project. That's the logical infrastructure route, and it's right at our front door, which really reduces the threshold of discovery for us. Right, we're not finding potentially a multi-million ounce discovery in a remote area. So it's really creating, hopefully we can make a discovery and create, help create an additional critical mass of resource that really helps to build and bring in additional infrastructure and make this a world-class mining camp. Anything to add, Darwin?
Hey, what's that?
I don't think there's anything to add on this map.
No, I don't think so. You probably mentioned Fireweed and what they're doing, the lead zinc and their tungsten. There's certainly a lot of activity in the area, and I think we all benefit from it. Yeah, sorry, my system rebooted there, so you lost me for a bit.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I did not mention Fireweed. So Fireweed's an advanced lead zinc deposit with a very material tungsten mine, right? Deposit as well that they're looking to develop in the next few years. So that also helps, really advance, discussions on upgrading roads, infrastructure, and all that stuff that we can mutually benefit from.
For sure. And there's certainly a lot of federal interest, federal monies for critical minerals projects. And we think that is going to be a benefit for the North Canal Road. There's already federal dollars earmarked for upgrading the road. So yeah, it's a good place to be as far as Yukon goes from an infrastructure standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's a kind of a 5,000-foot level view from the King Tut property. It stretches about 20 kilometers across. So it's quite a district scale property. This is the Plata Road, that dashed line, just for reference. And then so our two main property targets is the main Tut, which is prospect, which is associated with a dike complex that surround this big intrusion right here. some spectacular soils and grab samples, and that's where we're currently drilling right now. And then Golden Mask is 9 kilometers to the west. It's more of a traditional reduced intrusion related gold system where an actual intrusion surface daylights, and it looks to be eroded right at the carapace, which is most important area for higher grade gold levels. So really excited, and it's a 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer soil grade that covers that intrusion with some very high tenure gold samples. So very excited to be drilling both, and 75% of our drill program, our 2,500 meters that we'll be drilling this year will go to Golden Mask, and 25%, so about 2 holes, will be at Main Tut. Like I said, we're already completed with the first hole, and we're on our second hole right now before moving to Golden Mask next week. One thing that's not on this map as well as worth highlighting is the sediments, which are the host to these intrusions. They are like fireweed, our neighbors. They're very silver, lead, zinc rich. There's some really nice anomalies on our property that we don't show on this map because it'd be a little too busy, but there are some really interesting silver and zinc anomalies that are worth definitely worth following up on at some point in the near future as well.
Okay.
To point out there too, I don't know if you got a slide for it, Brock. Maybe we can talk to it on this one, but zooming in here on the Golden Mask soil anomaly, if you actually did a side-by-side between this soil anomaly and the soil anomaly that was sitting over top of the valley discovery, they really are quite similar in terms of both size and the tenor of the actual golden soil anomalies. And so it's, from our perspective, if you're looking for to get a exposure to drill something that's a valley-like model in this neighborhood, we think we offer one of the best opportunities to get exposure to that.
Well, and it looks, speaking of exposure, I mean, it looks like there's probably a reasonable amount of exposure in this area, given the relief where the anomaly is. Have you been able to map into the intrusive at all, or I mean, I know it's largely unroofed. There isn't much on top of it, but can you stand on the carapace, as it were, and kind of see what it looks like up close?
I mean, for us, historically, right, the last time we worked here was 2011, and we just had a soil anomaly, so we didn't really know what we had until we got out there this year. The first few weeks are really focused on trying to understand where contacts were and what you can see. It is quite rubbly and eroded on the top, so it's not great exposure, but you do get some, and it's pretty rotten rock that there's, and it's clearly some pretty intense fracturing through it. So we're getting some clues there, but it's not like we don't have like Valley had, where it was a nice river washed exposure cutting right through the middle of it.
Yeah, and then to your point, Eric, a lot of these points right here were actually mapped physically contacts that you can see in exposure. So Darwin did mention it is eroded and kind of rotten in some parts, but there are some exposures where you can actually physically map, especially on this side, some contacts. So it's there, it's real, you can stand on it. But we very much look forward to seeing some fresh rock underneath the rubble. So all the anomaly, we have a nice geochem plus the structure, so we have a lot of good data points to work off for the maiden never been drilled before target. So really excited about it. And so yeah, this is kind of what it looks like in plan view map with the soil anomaly, a very extensive 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer soil anomaly with high gold tenure we mentioned, and this is what it looks like in real view on a kind of oblique angle from the helicopter. And it's a gentle relief going up from the valley bottom, which if the grades are good, it could be amenable for an open pit type of scenario. It's realistic. So but that's probably talking a little too forward looking, but definitely really excited about drilling this for the first time in the coming week.
You're gonna just sort of set up high on it and just drill down through it, basically.
Yeah, so these couple of squares are some of the proposed drill pads. We've created several already, and we'll be drilling across a couple fences across. So the kind of the predominant structure is basically a lot, or like my cursor is kind of averaging 200 degrees and azimuth. So we're going to be drilling across in 150 meter spacing fences, and then we also drill a hole across the contact here into the hornfels, and there's a big fault here, so that looks quite interesting as well. So, which is something that actually plays it. These faults, particularly these big thrust faults, are pretty important. Talking to some of our neighbors, there's some important kind of tie-ins with some of these big predominant structures.
Okay, and just for people that are trying to evaluate this and go, how good a target is this? Can you kind of give us just sort of a snapshot version of, how does what you've got here, how does what we're looking at, how does it or doesn't it match the sort of the classic Craig Hart reduced intrusion gold system model? How do are all the pieces there, I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah, no, and it's some of these highlights right here on the left definitely check a lot of Craig's checklist. So we have the right pathfinder geochemical signature, a nice golden soil anomaly. It's the right size, so it's not too big nor too small. It's elongated. We're in the right part of the system, so in the carapace. We have a nice metamorphic arroyo around it, and some dominant sheeted fractures as well. So yeah, we're definitely there, and we're trying to get as close as possible to what could be a very interesting intrusion, but ultimately we have to drill it to confirm it, right? So I think this is as close as we can get to something that looks very similar. So
yeah, I mean, big picture, kind of keeping it pretty simple here, Eric. We've got gold, we've got the intrusion, we're in the same district. Just got to go out there and drill it, and so that's what we do. Yeah.
Okay. And how
I mean,
about,
what we kind of like about it is that it's pretty clear you're up at the very top of this thing, right? And that's from the model. I mean, you got to be careful not to get too locked into a model, but they provide a pretty good guide to starting point, and so it checks a lot of those boxes, and you're not going to know until you put some drills across it. So that's what we're getting to do. So we're very excited about this first test.
okay, and Tut Main, I guess that's where the drill is now.
that's right. Yeah, so we're planning to drill initial 2 holes here. First one's completed on an oblique angle across the dike to get a better sense of the geology and the thicknesses, and then we're drilling second one down across into these structures, which are cutting basically perpendicular to the strike of the dike. So which are the mineralized structures. So we're drilling for structure that we think is associated with the grade more than, I guess, geology, right? So
yeah, and this one, Eric's a little unconventional, when you think of a classic reduced intrusion model, but again, we have all the pathfinders, and these dikes are massive. I don't think we've got anything for scale, but that's probably 50, 60 meters across that you can see in that.
There's actually 2 people right here. If you can see my cursor.
Yeah, and it's
standing there. Okay.
It's oh yeah, people down there, right? Yeah, it's so it's big. It's kind of open pitable-esque target in its own right? But it is a bit unconventional. All we know right now is we've got this intense fracturing and veining that's perpendicular to the strike, and you get these windows of exposure, and then a bunch of it's covered, and I've got a lot of gold coming off of it. So we're gonna drill it and see what we get.
Okay. Do you want to spend short term? Obviously the Yukon is what matters. That's really where the torque is. I mean, either one of these targets with good holes could really light things up. And I think you got a class 1, I guess. So I mean, it's kind of what you see is what you get. You're not in terms of permitting. I mean, you're not in a position to, even if you had the time to really crank things up. I mean, you kind of got to get the class 3 to really be able to go in and throw tons of drill pads and things like that.
Yeah, and I think it's a prudent approach here too, to just do this. It's a decent first crack at it, 10, 12, something like that. Split between the 2 targets, get the data back, and assess what we have. It would be nice to have the ability to really charge ahead, but I think you want to take a pause and see what you actually have. And so it's a nice start. We are working on a class 3 permit in the background, but I don't think it'll be ready this season. So we'll have to wait till next year for the follow-up.
Okay, do you want to touch on the Timmins camp stuff? Because that's kind of that's what'll be coming up next, I guess, Q1 or something like that. I don't know when you guys actually get started there again, but
Yeah. So the timelines on that is basically we'll be in Yukon till basically end of September, and then we'll take a few weeks off, and then we'll start wrapping up Ontario. And the plans here is about a $2 million program, 4,000 to 5,000 meters. That will take us, from the fall over, the winter into 2024. And there's several things that we're really excited about with this drill program. That the first area I believe what we'll do would be focusing on this Argus zone, which we the high gold last year made a nice new discovery, bulk tonnage, a stone's throw away from Fen Gib, which is also the same host on the Pipestone Fault. And then also we're really excited potentially drilling Golden Mile, which is in a very underexplored large scale land package, in the shadows of some monster mines in the Timmins camp. So really excited. It's it's a good, nice combination of following up on something that's already been discovered, but also have a good amount of drilling allocated to new discoveries as well. So it'll be a nice dual news flow. So
and the total meterage there, Eric, is I think 2,500 in the Yukon and somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 in Ontario. So pretty steady, drilling between now and the end of the year. And that should still, that'll spend about half of what we raise. So we should end up with a decent treasury too at year.
okay, now I mean, aside from the one intercept, how much do you know about Argus as a target, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, it's how do I put this? I'll just back up a little bit to answer your question, Eric. I mean, I think, as you know, we've put a lot of effort into consolidating in this area because there was a former past producer there that was very, very high grade, and that was Croesus. And we kind of felt it was just really good geological real estate. We had Fen Gib, a long trend to the east. You got Black Fox to the south. But it all been frozen for, without much work done over the last 100 years because it's been tied up in these old patents. So we have both high grade potential and bulk tonnage potential. We felt that Fen Gib, which is controlled, it's a fairly pyrite rich system, and it's a true disseminated gold system. It really tracks right on the Pipestone. So we had a target that we thought looked similar, and we tagged it, but we're out of Pipestone a little bit. As you can see on the right-hand image here, a lot of the mineralization there is kind of coming in at an oblique angle to the Pipestone itself. And so we want to chase that towards the Pipestone. And in our view, anytime you're hitting tens of meters of half-gram plus mineralization, it's telling you you're into a system. It doesn't appear out of nowhere. So we like it a lot, and a lot of these intersections are very similar to what you see like in and around a Fen Gib. We haven't hit the 100 meters of a gram plus, but undoubtedly they're there. So I don't know if you got anything that you want to add to that, Brock.
No, I think just in terms of plans, it's just kind of a logical place to start our program, given the limited drilling that was done. So there's a lot of opportunities at Darwin's, particularly closer to the Pipestone Fault. So I think there's a lot of low-hanging fruit here to potentially follow up on.
Okay. You got any wrap-up remarks you want to make, Darwin? Any kind of big picture-ish stuff?
Well, I think big picture, for us, we're very pleased with the market's reception to the story and our ability to raise a pretty decent amount of cash out of the gates here with over 8 million. In what is arguably a very, very challenging market. And so I think it puts us in a very strong position to be one of the few that are actually very active out there and moving things forward. It's, we're still very much a drill discovery story, but they're great camps. It's great camps. If you've got a great team, I think it's fantastic. We're able to bring Brock over, and we got Nicole Holler on as VP or as VPIR communications. Our technical team with Ian Cunningham Dunlop and Connor McKinley, I think very well set up company with a great share structure and some great assets. And now we're just gonna sit back and watch what the drills do.
Okay.
No, absolutely. It definitely reflect a lot of that. And what's exciting for us is that we're at the beginning of the Lassonde curve here in the pre-discovery phase, and so where we can offer some outsized gains within world-class jurisdictions in Canada, especially in Yukon, where Snowline has made a obviously material discovery. And so we do hit it offers investors some substantial returns, and we look forward to these breakout exploration programs, and we're well funded with a clean corporate structure. So we check a lot of boxes for investors, and very much looking toward keeping the market updated as the drilling progresses, and as hopefully the assets come back positive.
Yeah, I mean, relatively speaking, Onyx is a fairly tight stock, and it's even tighter in the short term because the 16, 17 million units that were sold to raise that $8 million, those aren't tradable until I think it's like end of October, early November. I mean, essentially those buying in the market, there's pretty strong torque there if these guys get lucky and pull a couple of good holes at King Tut. In all likelihood, those results will be coming out when effectively the deal is a 10 or 15 million share float deal. So there's quite a bit of torque there if these results are good. Plus, they're still going to have 6 million for Ontario and Yukon next year and whatever. Very tight structure. There's really no cheap paper in this stock, so I do like the torque, and it's a very strong technical and market team. So I think Onyx is one of those stocks that has the potential to really have a breakout if they pull some good holes in either one of these projects. It's just very well set up for that.
Well, thanks, Eric. We appreciate those comments, and I mean, we do have the good fortune of there's really very few other derivative plays off Snowline in that region right now. It's just the kind of good ground is spoken for. Snowline has most of it. I mean, their land position is massive, but our land position is quite good too, and we do offer that kind of that exposure to that with a very legit target. This is not moose pasture. It's something we've been sitting on waiting to drill for 10 years. So it's nice to have a good reason to get back and do it.
Okay, there you have it. Onyx Gold, ONYX on the venture, symbol on the way in the US. Again, Brock Colterjohn, the CEO, Darwin Green, the chairman. Subscribers, a lot of my subscribers own this because a lot of my subscribers own high gold. So gets funded into this, and some of them, myself included, bought the 50-cent round a couple of months ago. I think this is a really good story to watch. It kind of trades by appointment right now, but I'm sure there's a price level where we're starting to see more liquidity, hopefully higher price level where we see more liquidity. But lots of news flow coming. Good story, good team. I mean, there you have it. As Darwin said at the start of this whole thing, keep it simple. Really good drill spec. Onyx Gold. Okay, Brock, Darwin, thanks for coming by, and both you guys are going to run off. I've got a couple of other Zoom calls later myself. I got my fingers crossed. Are you going to be? I know there's two schools of this, but I guess one question I'll just close out with is: will there be any conversation about drill holes ahead of assays, or are you guys just not? And I know a lot of managers just flat out don't like doing that. Will you be talking about what you see before assays, or is it just going to be wait for the assays and talk about it then?
Yeah. I got Brock. I don't know. Hey, I know in the past our philosophy has been not to do it. Unless you're absolutely forced to, because it can bite you in the ass. So my preference is not to, but
Yeah, and I realize it's a model. It's the type of model where you can stare at the core all day long. Another deal I own, which is not in this region, is Drilling 70 Silver, and I went and looked at their core, and it's just like, okay, intrusive with a bunch of little marker bands, whatever.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, we don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, right? Especially,
Yeah.
these type of deposit types, it's very hard to see what 0.5 gram to 2 gram ore body looks like. So
Yeah.
we don't want to have the expectations set in a realistic manner. So we'll let the assays do the talking.
And have you got any sense yet from the lab? I mean, I assume high gold is starting to ship. Have you got any sense of what the turnaround looks like this year in terms of better or worse than last year?
Go ahead,
About the
Brian.
same. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think for like the guidance that we're getting from the labs is about 4 to 5 weeks. So
Yeah.
so that's back to kind of on par. And our
Yeah.
neighbor is already showing, already we've been releasing assay results, including this morning. So
Yeah.
that's been a stark change since the last 2 years. So
Yeah.
I think we're better equipped this year for the assay turnaround timelines, which is great.
Okay.
And just a
Sounds
little
good.
note on that snowline results. I think some might have been thinking it was a little bit defined and this is just infill. What they released today is broken and wide open because they've got that 2 gram stuff at depth down to 500 meters. So there isn't a bottom to it, and that's underground mining grade, and that's huge for what it means for snowline. So I think you can expect to see that share price appreciate more, and I think it speaks again to the district and the profile of the district. So I'm really excited to see what they're doing, and we're excited what we're doing too. But it's everything they do keeps rewriting the book on these reduced intrusion systems, and there's something special about this east end of the camp. It appears to be, and it's nice to be a part of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I could see you guys getting a little more reflected affection, as it were, as snowline keeps growing. That's the reason I like Onyx is because I just really I like the team and I really like the targets. I mean, it's closeology, but it's not. I mean, you guys didn't go in and stake moose pasture. You've owned these claims for 12, 13 years now, and they're pretty real looking targets. I mean, those are really nice anomalies. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I like the odds. That's why I bought a bunch of it. Pretty simple. Okay. I think we're done now. Onyx Gold, ONYX on the venture. Fingers crossed, everybody. Let's see what these drill holes look like.
Cheers.
I'll see you guys again soon.